Hi, I'm Joshua Mecca, and I'm the president and founder of M&S Biotics. What we've done is developed a technology to be able to detect, track, count, and locate surgical items inside the operating room in real time. It allows us to automate the inventory process, and it gives us the ability to collect data points. Data points such as which instrument's being used, not being used, how long it's being used for, and we can take that data and apply machine learning algorithms in order to create powerful downstream analytics for our platform. We're talking significant cost savings related to time, but more importantly, more productivity from that operating room. So you're able to perform more procedures a year with the same amount of staff.
I had to take them to that ghetto university. The lights, cop lights, flashlights, spotlights, strobe lights, street lights, all of the lights, all of the lights.
August 6, 2013 is a significant day for me. It's the day I had a kidney transplant. Now, not only was that day nerve-wracking, but actually the months leading up to it were far worse, because I was continuously discovering statistics that put me, the patient, at risk. Now, I had a successful kidney transplant, but ever since that day, my goal has been to create more efficient, more effective, and safer surgical procedures. And that's what we're doing at M&S Biotics, and we're doing it by combining artificial intelligence and proprietary RFID technology. Now, what were these statistics that had me so alarmed? Well, for starters, right now, less than 20% of the surgical instruments that are brought into the operating room are actually utilized. Now, regardless of whether or not those instruments are used, everything must be properly cleaned, sterilized, and repackaged for future surgical procedures. Well, so what? Well, a quality improvement study showed that if you were able to remove 70% of those instruments from complex surgical cases, you could save a hospital up to $2.8 million in 1 year. But the real factor here is time. 14% of operative time is spent counting surgical sponges alone. None of the metal instruments I mentioned, just sponges. And as you can imagine, the human element is involved in this process, and because of that, 1 in 8 surgeries actually have a counting discrepancy. And as you can imagine, that's more time spent in the operating room and more risk for a patient just like myself. So how do we, so what? Well, if we were able to remove and automate this process alone, and we removed 15 minutes per procedure at $75 a minute, we could save a hospital up to $170,000 in 1 week from automating that process. And how do we do that? M&S Biotics is introducing the first non-intrusive RFID system that has the ability to detect, track, count, and locate surgical items inside that operating room in real time. And then it could send that information wirelessly back to a medical-grade tablet, so that staff will know any item's location at any given time during that procedure. That effectively automates that inventory process. Now, what I mean by non-intrusive is it doesn't require any manual effort, nor does it disrupt current operating room workflow. And that is a huge deviation from the technology on the market today. But since this technology is non-intrusive, it allows us to do much more. It allows us to track data points such as which instrument's being used, not being used, how long it's being used for. And we can take those data points and apply powerful machine learning algorithms to them to create downstream analytics. This gives us the ability to track instrument utilization by surgeon and by case. And we can provide those analytics to supply chain managers in order to remove the unnecessary 80% of the instruments that are being deployed in operating rooms today. But additionally, we could track sterilization cycles, increase faster turnover times with operating rooms, and that drives productivity for your hospital. Perform more surgeries per year with the same amount of staff. Right now, there's 5,564 hospitals in the United States. But a key statistic here is that 40% of a hospital's expenditure is directly tied to an operating room. So if you're going to make an impression in healthcare as it pertains to cost savings, you better start here. We're in 2 markets right now, the tri-state area and the Texas Medical Center. We already have 1 pilot signed in Long Island, New York, and 2 letters of interest right here from the medical center with big institutions that we're really excited about. When we look at our competitors, as I mentioned, they are intrusive to the operating room. They require manual effort to use. and some of them are limited in their technology, which doesn't allow the effectiveness that we're able to provide. M&S Biotics, we're able to automate that entire inventory process with the push of a button, and we'd love to show you at our booth exactly how it works. Our team is more than capable of executing on this opportunity because within 6 weeks, we were able to sign 2 letters of interest with 2 of the larger institutions in this area, and we've been picking up significant traction since then. We're very proud of our partners, but more importantly, Stony Brook University, who's providing us research scientists and resident surgeons to conduct our pilot studies at Southampton Hospital, and that's coming within 6 to 8 months of funding, as well as being recognized by MedTech Innovator as a top 100 healthcare startup across the country. Right now, there's 6 to 8 months of hardware refinement, and then we're going to go into cadaver testing and file an FDA-exempt filing. If it's not an exempt pathway, it's a 510K Class 1. Once we have clearance, that's when we kick off our first pilots. Right now, we're seeking investors, partners, and expert advisors. We're currently raising a $1 million seed round, and we already have a $25,000 commitment from TMC Innovation. And if there's any surgeons, nurses, or supply chain and technology experts, we'd love to speak with them after this showing. Again, my name's Joshua Mecca, and with your help, we could redefine the standard of care inside the operating room. Thank you so much.